This letter was the last connection Margaretta had to her friend, and it held pitifully little information. Exhaustion crowded Margaretta's mind. She'd been travelling for 3 days straight, taking mail coach after mail coach on a wide route around London to avoid anyone who might be looking for her. As long as everyone thought her safely tucked away in Margate, sea-bathing with Mrs. Hollybroke and her daughters, she would have time. Time to hide. Time to come up with a plan. Time to accomplish the impossible task of finding Catherine. Since complete disappearance seemed to be part of Catherine's solution, Margaretta could only hope her letter was the start of a small trail of breadcrumbs. So the question was, if Margaretta wanted to find someone who didn't particularly want to be found, where would she start? Her stomach grumbled and clenched, reminding her that the meat pie she'd consumed at a roadside inn for breakfast had been eaten a very long time ago. She wasn't going to do anyone any good, particularly not herself, if she collapsed from hunger and weariness in the middle of the street. Food and lodging first, then. Tomorrow she could start her search. The large three-gabled inn to her right looked promising and comfortable. It also looked like it catered to the expensive tastes of those travelling from London on the stagecoaches. Not only would staying there make her purse dwindle faster than she'd like, it would also put her at risk of running into someone she knew. She couldn't have anyone going back to London with the news that Margaretta was in Marlborough. So she started walking. Away from the inn and the delightful smells drifting out of it. Away from the coach and the people with whom she'd spent the past several hours sharing a tiny space. Away from everything she was familiar with. Travel was something she'd done a great deal of in her life. One didn't have a father in the business of saddles and harnesses without getting a chance or two to test out the leather creations. But never had she wandered alone, away from the areas populated with other travellers like herself. A deep breath trembled its way into her tight lungs. She could do this, 1 foot in front of the other, breathing in for 2 steps and out for 2 steps. Absorb the idyllic calm of the wide street that grew quieter the farther she got from the stable. Find something to focus on and just keep moving until a solution presented itself. It was a scary prospect that made her normally pragmatic self shake in her boots, but for the past month and a half it had served her well. Pick a point and move toward it. Farther down the street, a woman swept the pavement in front of a store. The sign simply read Lancaster's, but the array of bundled herbs hanging in the window and the barrels of food beneath indicated the store was likely a grocer. Margaretta's stomach grumbled again. It wouldn't be a gourmet meal, but if she could patch together a meal of fruit and cheese and perhaps other foods not requiring much preparation, she'd spend less than half of what she'd have to spend in an inn's public room. It was as good as any other option she had at the moment. Her lips flattened into a line of determination as she gathered her strength together and moved toward the grocer, trying to ignore the nervous fear that made her want to glance over her shoulder to see if anyone was following her. Nash Banfield stepped away from the door to his office and followed the woman down the street. Given the location of his office, just off Marlborough's central street, he'd seen many a person disembark from a variety of carriages. Normally he paid them only mild attention, but the brightness of this woman's cloak had been impossible to miss as she paused in the door of the carriage. A spot of sunshine framed by faded, dusty paint and the thin grey clouds that covered the sky. Clouds that made it strange that she took time to pull the enormous hood over her head, shielding her dark hair and pale skin from view. No one had joined her, and she'd claimed none of the trunks and bags being removed from the top of the carriage. Instead, she'd taken her lone leather valise and walked with firm strides away from the coach, the inn, and all of the people. Nash had been a solicitor for many years, and he'd rarely seen anything good come from someone travelling alone, travelling light, and hiding her face. He'd seen that face.